The massive viewing window of Luna Base stretched from floor to ceiling, offering a perfect view of humanity's greatest achievement. Captain James Miller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the endless stream of construction drones moving around the enormous ship like busy bees around a metal hive. The light from Earth reflected off the ship's dark hull, making it shine like a newly forged sword. The ESD Prometheus was more than just a ship. At 18 kilometers long, it was the largest thing humans had ever built in space. Its arrow-shaped design reminded Miller of the old sea ships that once ruled Earth's oceans, though this vessel was built to rule the stars. The ship's surface was not smooth. It was covered in weapon ports, sensor arrays, and armor plates that made it look like a mechanical dragon waiting to wake up. "Captain, the final system checks are starting." Tom Peters, his first officer, walked up beside him. The younger man's excitement showed in his voice, though he tried to hide it. "Engineering says the Helios drive is running at 60% capacity. Dr. Evans wants to speak with you." Miller nodded but didn't move from his spot. Through the window, he could see the huge engine ports at the back of the Prometheus lighting up one by one as the testing sequence began. Each one glowed with a blue-white fire that could push the massive ship faster than any vessel humanity had built before. "Tell me," Tom Miller said, "did you ever think you'd see something like this?" He gestured at the spectacular view before them. "When I joined the Space Force 20 years ago, we were still celebrating being able to reach Mars in 3 months. Now look at what we've built." Tom shook his head, his eyes fixed on the ship. "No, sir. Never in my wildest dreams. But then again, I never thought we'd need something like this either." They both fell silent, remembering why the Prometheus existed. The ship wasn't built for exploration or science. It was built because 6 months ago, humanity learned they weren't alone in the galaxy, and their first meeting with alien life had gone horribly wrong. The huge screens along the walls of the observation deck showed various camera angles of the ship. One focused on the front section, where the main weapon was housed. It looked like a massive cannon, but it was really just the focusing lens for something far more powerful, an artificial star burning at the heart of the ship. A loud alarm made both men turn. Red lights flashed across the observation deck as a voice came over the speakers. "All personnel, be advised. Helios drive testing entering final phase. Please maintain safe distance from viewing windows." The construction drones around the ship scattered like startled fish. The blue-white glow from the engine ports grew brighter, and a new light began to shine from within the ship itself. It started as a faint golden gleam visible through the seams in the hull, but it quickly grew stronger. "Beautiful," Tom whispered. "Terrifying, but beautiful." Miller had to agree. The Prometheus was now lighting up from within, like a paper lantern in the void of space. The artificial star at its heart was awakening, feeding power to systems that had never been tested together before. If anything went wrong, the explosion would be visible from Earth. His communicator buzzed. "Captain," Dr. Evans' tired voice came through. "We're seeing some unusual readings from the containment field. Nothing serious, but I'd like your authorization to run a level 2 diagnostic." "Granted," Miller replied. "How's our baby doing, doctor?" "Like any newborn, loud, demanding, and keeping its parents awake all night." There was a pause filled with background chatter. "But it's working, Captain. The star is stable, the containment field is holding, and power output is exactly where we want it. We're really doing this." Miller watched as more lights came on along the length of the ship. Soon, the Prometheus would be ready for its first real flight. They had built what many had called impossible. A ship powered by an artificial star, large enough to defend Earth, advanced enough to take humanity to the stars. They just hoped it would be enough when the Ravagers returned. Because return they would. The only question was when. And when they did, humanity would be ready with their own monster, their own star destroyer, waiting to show the galaxy that Earth was not to be taken lightly. Miller still remembered the day everything changed. He had been on duty at Luna Base when the deep space sensors picked up the first signs. The memory played in his mind as he walked through the busy corridors of the base, heading to the emergency meeting that had just been called. The signals had started as nothing more than unusual blips on the long-range scanners. The science team thought they were equipment errors at first, but within hours, the pattern became clear. Objects were moving through space in formation, slowing down as they approached the solar system. It wasn't natural movement. It was ships. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries. They had imagined it would be peaceful, a meeting of minds, an exchange of knowledge and culture. Instead, they got the Ravagers. Earth's leaders had decided to send their best and brightest diplomats, scientists, and military officers aboard the flagship Unity. The ship carried gifts, peace offerings, and humanity's hopes for a peaceful first contact. Miller had watched it leave, carrying his old friend and mentor Admiral Thompson. The Unity never came back. Captain Miller. A young technician ran up to him, tablet in hand. "Sir, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the transmission from that day." Miller took the tablet. The screen showed a video feed, grainy and broken, but clear enough. The Unity approaching the alien fleet, its lights bright against the darkness of space. The Ravager ships were dark, angular things that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They were smaller than the Prometheus, but packed with weapons humanity had never seen before. The video showed the Unity sending out its greeting signals. Then, without warning or response, the alien ships opened fire. The Unity never stood a chance. One moment it was there, the next it was torn apart by weapons that seemed to bend space itself. Only a single transmission made it back to Earth. Admiral Thompson's last words. "They're not here to talk. Get ready. Fight back. Show them what humanity can do." Those words had changed everything. The nations of Earth united like never before. The Prometheus project, already in development as a deep space exploration vessel, was completely redesigned. What was meant to be a ship of peace became humanity's best hope for survival. Miller entered the command center, where screens showed the latest sensor data. Red dots appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Ravagers were back, and sooner than expected. "Report," Miller ordered, putting down the tablet. "6 capital ships, sir," Tom replied, pointing to the main screen, "plus smaller support vessels. They're moving faster than last time. At their current speed, they'll reach Earth in less than 48 hours. Dr. Evans spoke up from his station, his face pale but determined. "The Helios drive isn't fully calibrated yet. We need at least 3 more days to run all the safety checks." "We don't have 3 days," Miller said, his voice firm. "How soon can we launch?" 20 hours at the absolute minimum," Evans replied. "But Captain, the artificial star's containment field isn't fully tested. One wrong move, and we could lose the whole ship." Miller looked around the room at the faces of his crew. They were scared, yes, but there was something else in their eyes. Determination. Humanity had spent 3 months preparing for this moment, building their answer to the Ravager threat. "They think we're weak," Miller said, addressing everyone in the room. "They think we'll surrender or die. But they don't understand what humans do when backed into a corner. We innovate. We adapt. We fight back." He turned to Evans. "Doctor, you have 12 hours to get the Helios drive ready. We launch as soon as possible." The room burst into action. Engineers ran to their stations, technicians began final system checks, and officers coordinated with the construction crews still working on the outer hull. Through the command center's windows, Miller could see the Prometheus. Its internal star pulsed like a heartbeat, growing stronger with each passing minute. Soon, very soon, the Ravagers would learn that humanity's first star destroyer wasn't just a big ship with powerful weapons. It was a statement to the galaxy. Earth would not go quietly into the night. Deep within the Prometheus, Dr. Evans stood before the massive containment chamber that housed humanity's greatest scientific achievement. The artificial star burned at its center, a sphere of pure energy no bigger than a beach ball, yet containing the power of a small sun. Its golden light filled the chamber, casting strange shadows through the layers of containment fields that kept its tremendous power in check. "Status report," he called out to his team, wiping sweat from his forehead. The chamber was cool, but the pressure of their deadline made everyone feel the heat. "Containment Field 3 is fluctuating again," Mary answered from her control station. Her fingers flew across the holographic controls, making constant adjustments. "The magnetic bottling is holding, but these power spikes are getting worse." Evans moved to her station, studying the readings. The artificial star wasn't just a power source. It was alive in its own way, pulsing with energy that seemed to follow patterns they still didn't fully understand. They had built it using theories that most scientists had called impossible just a year ago, and now they had to make it work in half the planned time. "Doctor," Jack called from another station, "look at these energy readings. The star is responding to the construction work on the outer hull. Every time they activate a new system, it pulses." Evans rushed to look at the new data. The star's light brightened and dimmed in rhythm, with the work being done throughout the ship. It was beautiful but terrifying. They had created something that connected to every part of the Prometheus in ways they hadn't expected. A loud alarm suddenly filled the chamber. Red warning lights flashed as one of the containment fields began to fail. "Containment Field 2 is collapsing," Mary shouted. "The star is expanding." Evans ran to the main control panel. The artificial star was growing, pushing against its constraints like a caged animal trying to break free. If it broke through all 5 containment fields, it would destroy not just the ship, but everything within 1,000 kilometers. "Reroute power from the main engines," Evans ordered. "Strengthen fields 1 and 3. We need to squeeze it back into shape." The chamber hummed with power as energy was diverted from other systems. The star fought against the increasing pressure, its light becoming almost blinding. For a moment, Evans thought they would lose it all. Then, slowly, the star began to shrink back to its normal size. The alarms stopped, and the emergency lights faded. Everyone in the chamber let out a breath they hadn't realized they were holding. "What happened?" Captain Miller's voice came through the intercom. He had been watching from the bridge. Evans studied the readings before answering. "The star is more responsive to the ship's systems than we thought, Captain. It's trying to sync with the Prometheus. Every new system we bring online affects its stability. Can you fix it?" "Not in the time we have," Evans admitted. "But I think I know how we can use it. The star wants to connect with the ship, so let's help it." He turned to his team. "Forget the standard protocols. We need to rebuild the containment field programming from scratch. Instead of trying to isolate the star, we'll let it connect to the ship's systems in a controlled way." "That's crazy," Mary said, but she was already pulling up the code. "We don't know what will happen. The Ravagers will be here in less than 10 hours, Evans reminded them. "We're out of options." The team worked furiously, rewriting safety protocols and redesigning systems that had taken months to build. The artificial star seemed to respond to their efforts, its pulses becoming more regular, more controlled. As Evans watched the star's light play across the chamber, he remembered why they had taken this risk in the first place. Humanity needed a weapon powerful enough to fight back against the Ravagers, something that could match their advanced technology. They had built not just a power source, but a new form of life, an artificial star that could think in its own way. The next few hours would determine whether their creation would save humanity or destroy them all. But as Evans watched the star pulse in perfect rhythm with the ship's systems, he felt something he hadn't expected: hope. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship anymore. With its beating heart of starfire, it was becoming something new, something that might just be powerful enough to change the galaxy forever. The warning sirens echoed through every corridor of Luna Base. On the main viewing screen, 6 red dots moved steadily closer to Earth, having already pushed past the outer defense networks without slowing down. The Ravager fleet had jumped into the solar system far closer than anyone had expected, catching Earth's defenders off guard. "Time to intercept," Miller asked, standing on the Prometheus's bridge for the first time. Around him, crew members rushed to their stations, running final checks on systems that hadn't been fully tested. 7 hours, Tom replied from his station. "They've already destroyed 3 early warning satellites. No response to any communication attempts." Miller watched through the bridge's armored windows as the last construction pods detached from the Prometheus's hull. The ship was only 89% complete. Whole sections of armor plating were missing, and some weapon systems hadn't even been installed. But they were out of time. "Engineering, status of the Helios drive." Miller called over the ship's comm system. "The star is cooperative," Evans replied, his voice tense but controlled. "It's accepting the new containment protocols. Power output at 75% and holding steady." Miller nodded. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency launch sequence. This isn't a drill." The massive docking clamps that held the Prometheus in place began to retract. The ship shuddered as it took its own weight for the first time. Warning lights flashed across every console, systems protesting that they weren't ready, safety protocols demanding more tests. "Main engines coming online," the engineering team reported. "Artificial gravity stabilizing. Hull integrity at 84%. Through the windows, Miller could see the lunar surface falling away as the Prometheus lifted from its cradle. The ship moved slowly at first, like a massive beast waking from a long sleep. The artificial star at its heart pulsed stronger, feeding power to engines that could push a small moon. Multiple hull breaches detected in sectors 7 through 9, a warning system announced. "Emergency force fields engaging." "Keep going," Miller ordered. "Get us clear of the dock." The Prometheus's engines burned brighter, pushing the massive ship away from Luna Base. Construction pods scattered like leaves in a wind as the energy wake from the engines swept past them. Several unfinished sections of the hull creaked and groaned, but held together. "Helm, give me full navigational control," Miller said, settling into his command chair. "Tactical, bring all operational weapons online. We may be incomplete, but we're still a star destroyer." The bridge crew worked with focused intensity, bringing systems online faster than any simulation had prepared them for. The artificial star's light pulsed through the ship's internal channels, growing stronger as more systems connected to its power. "Captain," Evans called from engineering. "The star is responding to combat systems activation. Power output increasing to 85%. It's like it knows we're preparing for battle." A new alarm blared through the ship. On the main screen, 2 of the Ravager vessels had broken formation, accelerating ahead of their fleet. "They've spotted us," Tom announced. 2 destroyers on an intercept course. "Time to contact, 45 minutes." Miller studied the tactical display. The Prometheus was massive, but right now it was like a half-armed giant. Some of their weapon systems weren't finished, others hadn't been tested, but they had one advantage. The enemy didn't know what they were facing. "Set course to intercept," Miller ordered. "We'll meet them between Earth and Mars. Engineering, I need all the power you can give us." "The star's containment fields are holding," Evans reported, "routing additional power to engines and weapons. But Captain, we still don't know how it will react in actual combat." Miller watched as Earth grew smaller behind them, while ahead, the red dots of the enemy ships grew closer. The Prometheus trembled slightly as its engines pushed it faster, accelerating the massive ship toward its first battle. "We're about to find out," Miller said quietly. "All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations, I know we're not ready. I know this ship isn't finished. But down there is Earth, and we're the only thing standing between humanity and extinction. Let's show these Ravagers what humans can build when we put our minds to it." The artificial star pulsed brighter, as if responding to his words. The Prometheus's weapons began charging, drawing on power that humanity had never wielded before. In less than an hour, they would either make history or become part of it. Space lit up with energy as the first Ravager ships opened fire. Their weapons were unlike anything humanity had seen before, beams of dark purple energy that seemed to distort the space they passed through. The Prometheus turned slowly, its massive bulk avoiding most of the first barrage. Direct hit on Section 12. Tom reported from his station. Shield strength holding at 60%. These weapons, they're trying to tear holes in space itself. Miller gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered. Return fire. All operational weapon banks. Let's see what this ship can really do. The Prometheus's weapon ports lit up along its hull. Streams of plasma, powered by the artificial star, shot out toward the approaching Ravager ships. The enemy vessels were faster, dancing around most of the shots, but one blast caught the smaller destroyer on its wing. Hit confirmed. The weapons officer called out. Enemy ship showing signs of damage. Their hull material is incredibly strong. In engineering, Dr. Evans and his team worked frantically to manage the artificial star's power output. Every weapons blast made the star pulse brighter, feeding more energy into the ship's systems than they had designed them to handle. The star is getting excited, Evans reported to the bridge. Power output at 90% and climbing. The containment fields are starting to strain. Another blast from the Ravagers struck the Prometheus, this time hitting closer to the bow. Warning lights flashed across every console as the ship's armor absorbed the impact. They're targeting our weak spots, Miller realized. They can see where our hull isn't finished. Helm, keep our completed sections facing them. Engineering, divert power to the forward shields. The space battle looked nothing like the old movies about space warfare. There was no roaring of engines, no explosive sounds in the vacuum. Instead, it was a deadly dance of light and shadow, with the massive Prometheus turning ponderously, while the smaller Ravager ships darted around it like wolves attacking a bear. Captain, Evans's voice was urgent. The star is responding to the attack. It's learning. Every hit we take, every shot we fire, it's adapting the power flow. But if it gets much more excited, I can't guarantee the containment fields will hold. Miller watched as another volley of enemy fire approached. Can we use that? Channel the star's energy somehow? Maybe, Evans replied. But it would mean giving it more control, letting it connect even deeper with the ship's systems. It's risky. A massive hit rocked the Prometheus, throwing crew members against their stations. The lights flickered as power fluctuated throughout the ship. Direct hit to the main power conduits, Tom reported. Shield strength down to 40%. We can't take much more of this. Miller made his decision. Dr. Evans, do it. Let the star help us fight. In the containment chamber, Evans and his team began removing the safety restrictions they had placed on the artificial star. Almost immediately, the star's light grew brighter, its energy flooding through the ship's systems with new purpose. The Prometheus's weapons changed their firing pattern, matching the rhythm of the star's pulses. Each blast carried more power, moving faster, striking harder. One shot caught a Ravager ship dead center, cutting through its advanced hull like it was paper. Enemy destroyer critically damaged. Tactical reported with excitement. The other one is changing course, falling back to their main fleet. But their victory was short-lived. On the main screen, the 4 remaining Ravager capital ships accelerated toward them, weapons charging. More enemy ships approaching, Tom announced. We're about to have a lot more company. The artificial star pulsed faster, brighter, pushing against its containment fields as if eager for the bigger fight. The Prometheus's hull hummed with power as systems reconfigured themselves, guided by the star's energy. Miller stood from his chair, watching the approaching enemy fleet. They had proven they could fight, but now the real test would begin. 4 capital ships against their 1 unfinished vessel. But they had something the Ravagers didn't: a star that wanted to fight. The 4 Ravager capital ships spread out in attack formation, their dark hulls blocking out the distant stars. The Prometheus, already damaged from its first battle, turned to face them. Inside the ship, warning lights flashed everywhere as systems struggled to keep up with the artificial star's growing power. Main reactor at 110% capacity, Evans called from engineering. His voice was tight with stress. The star is pushing harder than ever. These readings, I've never seen anything like this. Miller watched as the enemy ships launched their first coordinated attack. Dozens of energy beams struck the Prometheus from different angles. The ship's shields flickered and sparked, trying to hold back weapons that bent space itself. Hull breach in sections 4 through 7, Tom reported. Emergency bulkheads engaging. We've lost 20% of our weapon systems. Engineering. We need more power to the shields, Miller ordered. That's just it, Captain, Evans replied. Something in his voice made everyone on the bridge pause. The star. It's showing me something. In the data patterns, it's not just giving us power, it's trying to tell us how to use it. Another hit rocked the ship. Through the bridge windows, Miller could see one of their armor plates tear away, spinning off into space. But he also saw something else. The artificial star's light was starting to shine through the gaps in the hull, creating patterns he'd never seen before. Explain, Miller demanded. The star doesn't just power the ship, Evans said, his words coming faster now. It's been studying the Ravager weapons, learning how they work. These energy patterns, if we reconfigure our main cannon, we could create a focused beam of solar plasma, temperature equivalent to a star's core. Would it work against their ships? In theory, it would cut through anything. But Captain, Evans hesitated. Doing this would mean pushing the star beyond all safety limits. We'd get one shot. After that, the containment system would fail. The ship shook again as another volley hit them. More warning lights flashed red. On the main screen, the Ravager ships were moving in for the kill, confident in their victory. How long do you need? Miller asked. 10 minutes to reconfigure the main cannon. But sir, you don't understand. This will destroy the Prometheus. The star will break free. Miller looked at the tactical display. The Ravager fleet was closing in. Behind them, Earth shone blue and beautiful, with no idea how close it was to destruction. They had built this ship to protect humanity, knowing it might cost them everything. Do it, Miller ordered. All hands. This is the captain. Prepare to evacuate. Engineering team, stay on station until the weapon is ready. Everyone else, get to the escape pods. The bridge crew hesitated for just a moment, then moved into action. As evacuation alarms sounded throughout the ship, Evans and his team began their desperate work. The artificial star seemed to sense what they were doing. Its light grew brighter, pulses matching the rhythm of their modifications. 5 minutes, Evans reported. The ship groaned as more hits landed. The star it's excited, like it knows what's coming. Miller watched the enemy ships advance. They had no idea what the Prometheus was about to do. No idea that humans had built something that could match their power, even if using it meant sacrifice. 3 minutes. Captain, the containment fields are already starting to fail. The star wants out. The Ravager ships moved into their final attack position, their weapons charged for what they thought would be the killing blow. Through the growing gaps in the Prometheus's hull, the star's light shone brighter and brighter. 1 minute. Main cannon reconfigured. The star. It's ready. It's more than ready. Miller took one last look at Earth through the bridge windows. Then he gave the order they had all known might come from the day they started building humanity's first star destroyer. All remaining crew, evacuate now. Engineering. Trigger the release sequence. Let's show them what a star can really do. Escape pods launched from the Prometheus like falling stars, each one carrying crew members away from what was about to happen. Miller remained on the bridge with a skeleton crew, watching as the artificial star's light grew brighter and brighter. The ship's hull was now glowing from within, making the Prometheus look like a dying sun. Engineering team evacuated. Evans reported over the comm from his escape pod. The star's containment is at critical levels. You have 2 minutes before total failure. The Ravager ships, seeing the escape pods, moved in closer. They thought their enemy was surrendering, running away. They didn't understand that the Prometheus wasn't just a ship anymore. It was about to become a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Main cannon aligned, Tom said from his station. He was one of the few who had stayed. Power levels. They're off the scale. Through the gaps in the hull, streams of golden light poured out into space. The artificial star was straining against its last containment field, eager to be free. The Prometheus's weapons had stopped firing, all power diverted to the final shot they were about to take. Enemy ships in optimal firing position, Tactical reported. They're charging weapons. Miller stood from his command chair one last time. Send this message to all Earth forces. Remember what humanity achieved here today. Remember that we didn't just build a ship. We built hope. The Ravager flagship fired first, its dark energy beam striking the Prometheus dead center. But instead of causing more damage, the energy seemed to be absorbed by the golden light now surrounding the ship. Containment field failing, the computer announced. Critical overload in 10 seconds. Target their flagship, Miller ordered. Everything we have. Everything the star can give. Fire. The Prometheus's main cannon erupted with pure starfire. The artificial star broke free of its last constraints, channeling all its power into one focused beam of energy. The light was so bright that the escape pods had to darken their windows to avoid being blinded. The beam struck the Ravager flagship and didn't stop. It cut through the advanced alien hull like it wasn't there, continuing on to slice through 2 more capital ships behind it. For a brief moment, 4 ships were connected by a line of star-hot plasma that burned hotter than the surface of the sun. The Ravager ships didn't explode. They simply came apart, their supposedly invincible hulls melting into space. The 4th ship, the only one to escape the beam, immediately began to turn away. Inside the Prometheus, systems were failing everywhere. The hull was breaking apart, unable to contain the power of the freed star. But Miller smiled as he watched the remaining Ravager ship flee. All hands, abandon ship, he ordered the last few crew members. We've done what we came to do. Tom looked up from his station. Sir, we're picking up a transmission from the retreating ship. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, aimed toward their home system. Let's hear it. The alien language was harsh and strange, but the translation computer managed to decode one clear phrase. Humans have star weapons. Retreat. Retreat. They have mastered the stars themselves. Miller and his remaining crew ran for the last escape pod as the Prometheus began to break apart around them. Through the pod's windows, they watched their ship die. But it didn't explode like they had expected. Instead, the artificial star expanded outward, turning the entire ship into pure energy for just a moment. When the light faded, all that remained was a new field of asteroids where the Prometheus had been, still glowing faintly with the star's power. But Earth was safe. The Ravager threat had been driven back. In the days that followed, the story of humanity's first star destroyer spread across Earth. They had lost the ship, but they had gained something more valuable. The knowledge that they could stand against any threat. The Prometheus had proven that humans weren't just ready for the stars. They were ready to shape them. The retreating Ravager ship carried a message back to its empire that would change the galaxy forever. Earth wasn't just another world to conquer. It was the home of beings who could build stars, contain them, and use them as weapons. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not with a whisper, but with the light of a newborn star. As the escape pods were collected by Earth's rescue ships, Miller looked back at the glowing debris field that had been the Prometheus. They would build more ships, better ships, learning from what they had achieved here. but there would never be another quite like this one. Humanity's first star destroyer, the ship that had turned a star into a weapon and changed the course of history. In the end, the Prometheus had lived up to its name, bringing the power of the stars to humanity, just as its ancient namesake had brought fire to mankind. And like that ancient gift, this one had changed everything.